In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the background of an image, the sky in this case, with another image. I'll be using the contiguous selection tool and the color selection tool. Both of these tools have a threshold option, which allows you to adjust the sensitivity of the selection. I'll also be making use of layers and transparency, or what's called alpha channels. Okay, so I have a basic image here, and what I want to do is remove this sky and replace it with this sunset. So let's get to work on the mountain range first. And I'm going to do color selection tool right here. And I'm going to select this. Now, what I want to do is I want to get this selection as close to the mountain range as possible because I'm trying to get rid of the blue. So there's not much blue on the outline of the mountain. That way the sunset will look a little bit more real in the background. And oh, just so you know, I'm zooming in. You can do this, view, zoom, and you see here these keys, 1, 2, 3, that sets your zoom level. And then shift 2, 3, and 4 is negative zoom level. So if I do like 3, for example, I zoom in, I press 1, it sets it to normal, shift 2. Well, my keyboard doesn't work for some reason because I have other hotkeys bound, but I can go over here to view, zoom, and then set it for 50%. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it normal. So I've selected my color range, but it's also selecting some of the mountain range, which I really don't want. Still, I want to get as close as I can to the mountain. So I'm going to go ahead and do select none. And I'm going to increase my threshold here to, let's say, 30. Yeah, that gets really close. See that? I really like that. But it also selects areas I don't want. So I'm going to go ahead and do this circle selection tool right here. I'm going to hold the control key on my keyboard. And what that does is deselect items that you select. So I can do this. Let's go back out to 1. And I'll just do larger sections this way. I can also switch to the square, hold the control key, make sure that's all deselected. I can actually, oops. You got to make sure that you don't, when you're deselecting stuff, you don't accidentally left click without doing anything. Otherwise, it'll deselect everything. Just make sure how you manage your mouse button. Anyway, hold the control key. You see a little minus sign pop up on my cursor when I hold the control key. So, and select all of this. Let's zoom in a little bit here. Let's go back to the circle tool. Control key, select. Also, this is a contiguous region right here. If I select any of this, it'll probably cause this whole area to get deselected. Let me see what happens here. Oh, good. It changed the boundary of the selection, which is what I wanted. So let's see if I can do this here. Oh, that's great. That's great. Okay. So yeah, I really like the way you can deselect items as well as select them. So yeah, just remember to hold your control key down. And I'm also tempted to click because when you click an area, it will cause this selection to go away. And I tend to want to do that when I'm editing, but you don't want to do that. Otherwise it'll basically deselect all your work. So else we got? Region over here. Let me go back to the square. And this area. This area. Okay, let's zoom in over here. Put my mouse cursor where I want to zoom. Press the number 3 key. It zooms in. Yeah, that's good. Look at this area here. Let's make sure everything is selected that I want selected. And we've got some little artifacts down here I need to get rid of. All right, looks like everything's good. I also got to make sure I have an alpha channel. So hit the layer menu item and then go down here, transparency, add an alpha channel. Always add an alpha channel because you need to work with transparencies. Now that I've got everything selected that I want selected, I can go ahead and press the delete button. And I do select none. And that looks really good. Okay. Now we can work with our sunset. So let's go over here to the sunset. And this image is 1280 by 1024. I need to increase the height of this one. So let's go to image, scale image, and I want to keep this link. When you keep this, it maintains the aspect ratio. That's what that little link does right there. And I want to make sure it's checked and connected. So let's see, 1024. I'm a little bigger than I wanted. Edit, undo, and let's try 800. Yeah, I like that better. Because if you scale it too large, then it gets really pixelated, and you don't want that. So now that the height is where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and scale the image. Or I want to change the canvas size. So canvas size. Now the width of my mountain image is 1280, so I want to go ahead and do that. But I'm going to go ahead and unlink this. So 1280. Center. Okay, so this is a preview here. Go ahead and resize that. Now, you'll notice that the border still extends outside the image. So I need to go to layer and then layer to image size. Now the border's right there against the image. Now that I got the image sized the way I want it, I can go ahead and copy it. Click edit, copy, go to my mountain range and do edit and paste as new layer. Now it's overlapping my mountain range, so I want to go over here to my layer window and drag and hold the sunset and put it underneath the mountain range, which puts it behind the mountain range. And go to my selection tool right here. Make sure sunset's selected. Now I can move this up. Let's make sure the sides are correct. Yeah, that's good. So you can see there's a little bit of blue outline on the mountain. It's probably about as good as I'm going to get it, but still it does look pretty good. Alright, so there I've got my background exchanged. Now I want to do one other little thing. Grab this parachuter, open with the GIMP. And I'm going to go do Contiguous Regions. And go ahead and increase my threshold to 20. Make sure I have a transparency here. Add alpha channel. Select this one. Delete. This one. Delete. Delete. And just select all these areas that I want clear. I don't want those colors overlapping my image. There. Do select none. Edit. Copy. Okay, I'm done with him. Put him in here. Edit. Paste as. New layer. Now he's behind the mountain, so I want him in front of the mountain. So I'm going to drag him to the top on the layer window. Let's move him over to the side. Make him a little bit smaller. Do the scale tool right here. Click on him and make sure that the link is checked so he maintains his aspect ratio. Because what happens if you uncheck that and then you start dragging him, you can do that, which, maybe you need to do that, but in this case I don't. You hit the reset button and relink that. Now when I drag the size, it keeps them pretty much the same, so make them a little small. And then scale. Go to my move tool and put them where I want them. Okay, now this is something I didn't cover in the previous video. When you pretty much have your image ready to roll, you probably want to go ahead and save it. Go ahead and just call this GIMP Demo 1. And I'm saving it in GIMP format, XCF file. And the reason is if I want to come back and adjust these layers and make changes to the image, I can. So now that that's done, I can go ahead and export the whole thing as a single image. And I'm going to go ahead and use PNG format. Actually, no, in this case I'm going to use JPEG because it does compress the image, make it a little smaller. JPEG doesn't allow for background transparency, just in case you need to know that. PNG and GIF images do allow for background transparency. And transparency works like, well, when you saw me work with a parachuter and I deleted the colors and it left what was behind it completely clear and transparent, that's transparency. JPEG doesn't support that. GIF and PNG do. So that's just a FYI. So I'm exporting to JPEG because I don't need transparency. This is a full image. And I want fairly high quality. GIMP demo number 1. Export. Now if I go to my folder, GIMP demo number 1, open that in Windows Image Viewer. And there we go. So that's how you can work with layers and transparency and the selection tool. Remember the threshold is a very handy tool. I like that because it basically adjusts the tolerance of selection for contiguous regions and color selection tool. So if you're selecting an area and you want to grab, like I did with the edge of the mountain range here, you want to kind of go a little bit deeper and have a little bit more color tolerance so it gets as close to the mountain range as possible, you can adjust that using the threshold option here. That's it for this video. Give it a thumbs up if it helped you out. Click subscribe if you want to see more. Also, make sure you check out the website, www.the-nerdcave.com, and tell your friends about me. I'd love to hear from them. Thanks for watching and have a great day.